youth impact policies. Try and hazard some assessment process here. Joining studio by the former Northern Regional Director of National Youth Authority, Executive Director, Institute of Youth Development Practitioners, Ghana. Mumuni Suleimana is my guest, is joining me here in studio. Good morning, Dasaba.
Good morning, my brother. Ansuma, I'm from the Upper West region, so we say that's fine. Agreed.
Now, let's talk about the youth of Ghana.
That's right.
Are they well positioned and well placed? We know what the definition of youth is by the UN and all of that, but let's zero it down to Ghana. Our youth today, are they well positioned and well placed?
Thank you very much, Mr. Johnny, and good morning to your listeners out there. It's indeed very sad when we want to discuss youth of Ghana. Your last caller made a submission that really, will I say, pierced my heart, not necessarily been touching. That it seems we don't have a future as a country because of the lifestyle of young people in this country. And you've just hammered on the same, asking to know whether the youth of Ghana are well placed to do what they have to do. I can say to a greater extent, no. Why do I say no?
Tell me.
Yes. Why do I say no? I say no because in every sector of life, when you have the right caliber of people leading affairs of such people, the people can be considered safe. I mean, for example, youth work in Ghana is not professionalized.
Right.
Like you are seated, you can call yourself a professional journalist. You have certain ethics and standards that guide you to do what is right. In Ghana, it doesn't look like that. Youth work is just about passion. It's about frefrekobo. That is how I can describe it. That anyone who has an opportunity within the space can just come out and say, I'm a youth development worker. There's nothing to measure the standards of people who are supposed to guide, coach, mentor these young people. And for that matter, it becomes very difficult to be able to see what exactly the people they are shepherding are doing well. That is why I said I have a challenge in that direction. So automatically there might be different policies, but as to whether we really see that area of interest as a professional development area that you can say that, oh, these people are professionals, they're able to guide, mentor, and do wherever. Yes, if you look at it critically, Mr. Johnny, Ghana, I can tell you, if maybe it's today, the highest certificate one could get in youth development work should be Commonwealth Youth in Diploma Program. That's the highest that one can attain in Ghana. Elsewhere, people have PhD in youth work, masters in youth work, first degree, but the highest one can get in Ghana from Legon in partnership with Commonwealth is a diploma in youth development work. So how serious are we as a nation that we really see 38.2% of the Ghanaian population being guided by people that are not professionals? What will you expect to get as an outcome of this? Eventually, nothing. That is where we have to look at. If you have a lot of quack professionals in the system, you should expect quack results in the system.
Let's talk about the policies that government after government have, couched or put together for the youth in afforestation, youth in this, NAPCO, we have a CODES program by this government, so many of them. Let's do a brief assessment of all of them. Were they programmed with the youth in mind, or were they just used as political tools, or were they just, put something there to represent something? What do you see?
Basically, we have a national youth policy that's supposed to guide the implementation of programs and projects within the youth sector.
That's right.
And in Ghana, the first ever youth policy document was promulgated in 1999, and then it never saw review till 2010. Then after 2010, then 2022, another review to the current youth policy we have. That's supposed to span for 10 years, 2022 to 32. In the policy document, they normally outline priority areas that everybody's supposed to focus on. Because as a national youth policy document, it's supposed to be a multi-sectorial policy. Different institutions, agencies supposed to be implementing youth development activities. And in that regard, every institution, for example, agric, supposed to be implementing something for young people in the area of agric.
Right.
ICT the same. So it is not just one agency that's supposed to implement whatever that is in the youth policy, but as whether they are even coordinating. Somebody is there to coordinate these very agencies to ensure that everybody is doing something right. Because the budget they give to them also take into consideration this very aspect.
Right.
But it looks like we don't have that turning point. Even if it is there, is it working right? That is what I can see. So all the policies that they normally come out with are political manifestos that when they come into power, they try to now translate that into practical terms. But when they are translating it into practical terms, are the technical people there to really guide these politicians to do what is right? And as their political promise, do they normally have a dedicated source of funding for this? That one can be very sure that once it has started, it will remain like that. For a given period, if we are talking about a program, for a period, you should be able to come out with a legislative instrument to guide proper implementation of it. Do we have such? So you just come out with a policy that is not being backed by any ally. And once it's not being backed by any ally, anyone at any point in time can just rubbish it. And that is where we find ourselves. So they just come, begin with it, do the political fanfare, the shows, after the fanfares and shows, actual implementation, which is supposed to be done at the grassroots, would never see day's light. And once it doesn't happen, you can't be sure of any impact of such policies on the young people of Ghana.
Now, how are the youth being brought along in terms of these policies that are supposed to impact the young people? Are the consideration stage on the table? Are the youth invited? You have worked at that high level before. Are the youth invited? What is their input? How are they brought along? Tell me.
Most often, for the National Youth Policy proper, I can boldly and confidently say that a lot of young people were engaged at different levels as what they want to see reflect in the youth policy document. But when we talk about government interventions, like a particular government will make a promise, I want to do A, B, Z. And in that regard, once the government comes, probably the government will begin the implementation. Remember, the government will be working with a cross-section of young people before coming to power. For example, if it's NPP youth will be consulted. If it's NDC youth will be consulted. But once you transit and become a government, it means you must deal with every young person in the country. And that is where the challenge is. Because they just, whatever that they agreed on within the party level, automatically when they come into power, they begin to implement it in that same way. So those that do not belong to any political party probably might suffer. Yes, because people will always say, oh, this one is not political, it's not political. But you and I know, underground, it will never be done the way we would have wished it is done. Yes, so truly, policies of this nature, even if at the political level you use it as a political manifesto, the moment you want to begin national implementation, it is good to create room for every young person to make inputs to see how you can get it done. Inputting into a program is not just the launching of it. It is not the manifesto aspect of it. It goes beyond that. Because sometimes what you might think earlier on, when you come into reality, you see the variations. And that is so critical. And when you don't take these things into consideration, you try implementing, but you have a lot of challenges on your way.
Let's look at international best practices. You know, what could we learn from advanced countries and how they have conducted themselves in terms of furthering the interests of young people? Let's look at it.
Yes, with international best practices, they don't in any way politicize the youth space. They deal with professionals, youth development workers by merit. You move into the youth space by virtue of merit. And once you move in there, you know that it is not as a result of any godfather or whoever that brought you there. And you do what is right based on the standards of the profession. That is what we are lacking in this country. That somebody, with all due respect, belonging to a particular profession like accountant, can't just be brought to now handle youth affairs. you can be rest assured that yes, the person is a professional elsewhere, but not where they've sent the person, especially when it comes to direct implementation of programs and activities in the youth space. So it's so critical, and I think that for us to really be able to meet the international standard, first we should begin to look at how youth work can be seen as a profession, not just an area anyone can move in and do anything and walk out.
Right. Now, about these programs that are created or these policies that are initiated, there's a young man or a young woman listening to us now who'll be thinking, how do I even go and assess it? You know, I live in my small corner, I want to mind my business. They've brought a program for coders, they brought NEIP to give support to people who want to be entrepreneurs. They brought this, they brought that. How do they even begin to assess it?
Yes, if you monitor closely, there are a lot of online portals that they have opened for young people to complete and be considered or otherwise. And I also know in the various National Youth Authority offices, there are hard copies of such forms. People can walk in, pick and complete, which is also ongoing. Yes, but the fact remains that these processes are ongoing, but how neutral will these processes be? That you and I, who wouldn't know anyone that can influence for you, can genuinely get it. That is the advocacy I stand for. That we should get to a point where we don't force people into areas. Most government policies fail because they force people into areas that they don't have passion in. For example, we are just doing the National Apprenticeship Program. A young person is not interested in such, but because the person belongs to a party, they just talk to the party chairman, please bring young people. We have this. They bring them, they come in no passion. They don't want it. They just do it. They even give them the tools at the end of the day. They go and dump it and try to follow what they like. So we should move to a point where we allow young people express what exactly they want. Let's provide that for them, give them the necessary guidance, and we'll get the best of results.
If you look at the country called Ghana now, as where we are now, do you get a sense that we are harnessing the energies of our young people to the best of our ability to help in national development?
Never at all. A lot of young people, even common attachment, are struggling to get places to do attachment. Mentorship is so critical for youth development. There are no spaces for mentorship in Ghana. So you can't just get up one day and get the working experience somebody will want you to have before you are engaged. You give your attachment letter to a ministry, an agency, a department, they tell you that they don't have space. So how do you then prepare the person for the market? They have energy, they play along with technology, they have a lot they can offer, but these opportunities are denied them. And once these opportunities are not available, automatically such people are compelled to engage in what you and I will not want to see, because the devil will find work for the idle hands. That is exactly what is happening. Majority of them are unable to assess the opportunities that they would have wished they assessed to be able to develop their potential to the fullest.
Somebody will say the youth of today are being overly selective in trying to, for the assessment and the attachment and all the things you spoke about. So you find somebody who says reading sociology at University of Ghana, Legon, and doesn't want to go and do field work as part of their internship. They want to come and sit in an air-conditioned office and say they are doing desk research. What do you have to say about that?
Yes, I perfectly do agree. We have some young people that are lazy, and their laziness to me had to do with the orientation that we give to them out there. Because we have this kind of perception that everything good is in the office. And that is the kind of perception that is created out there. And everybody is struggling to be in the office. Not knowing if you want the gold, it is rather on the field. So we need to do serious orientation. Don't be surprised. You go out there, you find out the state institution that is in charge of youth budget, a lot of young people don't know. You ask young people that you think could be enlightened about the youth policy document, they will tell you they've never heard of the youth policy document. A lot of them are very lazy to do research, to know what is due them. They think certain things that are their legitimate rights, they think they are just privileges given to them because they don't want to do research. So yes, to a greater extent, it works. But we also have the duty to give them proper orientation on some of these things, such that they know exactly what is due them, how to get access to it, and all those things. Most of them are lacking information.
Then there's the conversation of those who start as mentors, and before you know, they are sugar daddies and sugar mummies. That is also a matter that is rearing its ugly head every now and then. They start as mentors, and then before you know it, they are sugar daddies or glucose guardian, as they like to call them, the Gen Zs. What do you have to say about that?
That is right, Johnny. Seriously, in every society, you can't have perfection. No matter how genuine the society people might perceive it to be, but we have those people that are also of that nature.
Right.
Even within the clergy,
right,
you see those things happening. But I can assure you, majority of people are decent. They know what they are doing. People like you, automatically you want to have a legacy,
right,
and you are looking more of the legacy than just a name. And we have people like that. So it's just a matter of an informed and empowered youth knowing how to take a decisive decision at any point in time. Because once a young person is empowered, well informed, when somebody is trying to take advantage over the person will be able to back out of it. And that is what we have to work towards. So that before young people even begin some of this, they are well informed, they are empowered, and know exactly what they are doing.
There are three strands of, persons or stakeholders that come together to form the answer we are looking for. I'll ask you my very final question, what the end game should be. First, the government or the formulators of the policy, and then you have the professionals who will be guiding the young people, and then you have the young people. So it's a triangle of a sort.
Right.
What should be the end game for these three groups? How should they conduct themselves going forward to achieve the results we're all looking for?
Yes. I begin with the latter, the youth. The young people supposed to know that whoever they've asked to be in charge of him or her is duly paid from our taxes. It is not just an honor the person is doing the young person.
Right.
The young person must hold duty bearers accountable on what they think is legitimate. And to hold somebody accountable requires a lot of knowledge, because you just don't hold people accountable when you don't know exactly what you are discussing. So meaning that before you go to hold stakeholders accountable, then you must be ready to study and learn and know exactly what you are talking about. You should know the acts, you should know the policies, the conventions that governs your space, and you speak without authority, and people know exactly whom you are. That is so critical. And that is what is lacking at that level. Young people are very lazy. They don't want to learn. They don't want to research to know that legitimately this is for them. Then in the case of the youth development worker, we should make efforts to at least, even if you move into the space with a different background. But now we have so many ways of learning. You can learn online a whole lot. So try to now, once it's a passion, try to make it a proper passion by trying to upgrade yourself in a way that one can call you a professional, so that we don't see you as a people or quack professional in that field, because it is not a good name. And once you are a professional, you should be able to guide the government, the politicians, as to what is right and what is wrong. We can't continue to be kowtowing to them. When you do that, you are not helping them, because sometimes they don't know what they have to do. So you call yourself a technical person, and when a politician calls you, whatever he says, you say, yes, sir, yes, sir. You are unable to tell the person, for this one, if you go this way, it will not be the best way, because you want to just protect your position. You will only say, yes, sir, yes, sir, and the majority of these young people are suffering. So for me, they should be bold, be decisive on what they tell government, so that government in implementing it will forever remember them. But when you begin to do yes sir, they will do things wrong and will always be where we are.
I see. Suleiman Momuni, former Northern Regional Director, National Youth Authority and Executive Director, Institute of Youth Development Practitioners, Ghana. Quickly before you go, what do you do at Youth Development Practitioners, Ghana?
Exactly. Our main focus is professionalizing youth work in Ghana, as we have identified that as the gap in the youth space. So we want to make sure that whoever that is working within the youth space is given professional training with or without academic qualification. So that at the end of the day, they work as professionals and work based on professional and national standards in the youth space. That is exactly what we seek to do. As I talk with you, we've started partnership in the form of MOU with What Technical University, where every first year student, through their African Studies youth model, will go through youth development studies, so that we expose them to certain opportunities that exist that they can take advantage of, and also what it takes to be called a youth, whom you can contact as a youth when you are in need of whatever. So they will get their academic score and get professional certificate alongside. That is how we intend to professionalize the youth development work in Ghana.
Sule, I thank you very much indeed for your time, and thank you for spending your morning with us. We're grateful.
Thank you so much, Johnny. Keep it up. You are doing very good work.
Thank you.
One, I will call you very soon to appreciate your work. I've whispered into your ears.
I hear you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much indeed. We're grateful. DJ Abiam, a quick rave, and then we will do some birthdays, shall we? Sunrise on 3. So if you're a young person, I'm sure you got the memo.